I'm assuming there's no public comment. I don't know if there's any open comment that anyone wanted to mention or talk about prior to getting to the agenda, but
no public comment.
Okay. We will pass on the September minutes because we don't have a quorum, and we can move on to the survey of the residents about possible businesses. So Betsy's put together, along with our feedback, a pretty in-depth survey about basically what people would want from a downtown business area if we were to come up with some sort of a plan for our business district. And it basically ranges from questions about what kind of restaurants do you think would be great to have in town that's not here already, to where do you eat dinner, what do you spend on it, and it's pretty in depth. So I'm not sure what the best way to go about going over this is, but you want me to read every question, or
probably?
I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review.
So I got feedback from Debbie and Cleo, and Debbie and Cleo had very different approaches to this. So it was interesting looking at this because Cleo, speak of the devil. I won't speak for you. So I will unmute you, Cleo. We just started talking about the survey, and I was just about to say, or I just did say actually, that I only heard from Debbie and Cleo about the survey and that you guys had very different approaches. So Cleo's approach was cut everything and keep a few things, and Debbie's approach was keep most things but cut a few things. So
I thought I marked a lot to cut out. No, it was very long in the first place.
Yeah, it was very long.
Yeah. Well, now that I think more could get cut.
I think I'm worried that a lot of it is sort of like marketing information. I'm not sure we have the ability to process without someone who's without knowing that we have someone who knows how to analyze that data.
That's a very good point.
You mean the questions are so pointed that it takes a little bit more than our scope of.
Yeah, towards the end of the survey, all the questions about like, what kind of shopping do you do? What kind of places, activities do you do? And what's your household income? All that stuff that we know is all being collected about us. Usually used by, larger companies to build mailing lists. I just don't feel like we need or that capability to analyze it.
Right, things like what kind of magazines do you read and that kind of stuff. It's not necessary for
radio stations you're listening to.
So do we want to come up with a number that we think is like a reasonable number that a homeowner would absorb and not think that this is too overwhelming, and then whittle it down to that number?
I agree that the radio stations, even the gender, the zip code, there's obviously some real easy ones to
I could just cut all of those last questions,
I like the activities one, though. I like the number 35 activities, but books and radio stations, TV stations, I agree that could all go.
Yeah, I like the 35. The leisure activities is something that we have a lot of these things in our town, so it'd be nice for sort of know what people are into.
And some of the other things that we have, like, I don't know that marital status is relevant, but like level of formal education, that's data that's collected elsewhere that we could use if we wanted to, go after a certain type of business to say, X number of people in this town have an advanced degree. So that's kind of irrelevant to be collecting any already.
And say age, or do we want to know if age correlates to activities or something like that?
Yeah, but we don't know. We're not really doing a scientific survey, so you can't even rely on extracted data.
7, 28, 30, 31, 32. I guess 29. Well, if we have that information somewhere else.
You just have to be careful because we're not, I mean, I'm not a database person, but we're not, we're not having somebody manage the statistical relevance of it.
Well, is Sean going to break this down a little bit for us? I thought that was the understanding, because sort of what Sean does. Um, I- there's a couple things in here about like we're supposed to insert things like when you shop at the following location stores instead of downtown city. What are the main reasons why? And those things are sort of I don't think we need 16 and 17. And then if
17 saying I'm going to the post road to Christmas tree shop because
Yeah.
I'm not going to the right approach or something like that. I think it all depends on how you fill it in.
right,
Someone's going to the Rip Arms ice cream and not going to Sip in a Bottle for gelato.
right. I just don't know how specific if we should put our actual businesses down here in a survey.
Would we need their
But yeah, I don't know if we need their permission. What do you think, Betsy? Is that something? I mean, to put individual stores down there seems like it's a little bit.
Well, it seems highly specific too, and kind of like what Cleo said. Since Sean can help, I think, a little bit with this, but I understood that the goal was to figure out, do people want high-end restaurants or Panera, or do people want more? I hear people talk about ice cream a lot, or do people want shoe stores or a home store, or high-end store, or not discount store like a dollar store, but something cheaper, to kind of be able to that information to give to our realtors or anybody else who might be able to say, hey, Woodbridge, it has this kind of market, which we could use with other data that we already have, right? Number of population, how many people have advanced degrees, the salary levels in town, that kind of thing, and then say, and these residents want to buy high-end shoes or whatever. So I do think the question 17 asking about why you shop at certain places when you're not shopping in Woodbridge might be useful. Like when I have to drive somewhere to go shopping, I usually think about if I'm going to another town, are there 2 or 3 things that I want to do there? So like me, driving to Woodbridge might not make sense unless I'm already there, because there aren't necessarily 2 or 3 things in our small business district that I would want to do on one trip. I don't know. I don't know if that's a usual shopping style or if that's not normal.
It is. I think it is. I mean, back 6 months ago, if I was going to drive out to the post road, I was going to go to Trader Joe's and Target or this and that. I didn't want to drive all the way out there because I didn't want to drive there often. But when I did, I wanted to make it worth my while.
And while you're out there, you might also stop to get a coffee or a cookie somewhere that you wouldn't drive to the post just to buy coffee.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a question for Sean. How do we phrase it? Like what sort of, because I think there's a lot of stores where you don't necessarily what's at the Right Approach or what's at the Red Barn. Those are nice to have things. Maybe they'd have more foot traffic if there was something else to draw people in.
Right. Okay.
I can ask Sean about how to phrase that.
Oh, noise. Who's that?
I think there's noise maybe from Jeremy and me, but I can't.
Oh, okay.
Is it me?
Sounds like a video game or something.
Oh, this sounds like static to me.
Yeah.
Is it gone when I mute myself?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can turn off the. I'll be back in a second.
Is there a quorum?
No.
It's being broadcast?
There's 4 of us.
Yeah. Right, so you guys all agree that the questions about the restaurants and how frequently you eat out and approximately,
What numbers are those? So we can.
those are early ones. So like 3, 4, 5, and 6. Although number 5, Debbie, you suggested cutting, and Cleo, you suggested keeping. That's the one about how often do you eat supper out, where each meal costs.
Yeah, I would like to know how often people eat out, but not necessarily the price.
The price point.
We can cut out. Anyone else have any other thoughts on that one? They seem like they're a little redundant. I don't know that we care if people are spending $4 for a sandwich or $12 for
Should we
something.
keep 3 but lose 4 and 5? Or
Oh, yeah, because they are getting highly specific.
keep 3,
Yeah, maybe just keep 3 and then go to 6.
4, 5. I like 6.
Yeah, I like 6.
I need 7 though, because especially nowadays, the movie theaters, I mean, who knows if they'll even make a comeback anyway.
Yeah, and
Not
it's how old this is, because it's asking how often you rent movies from a store.
Yeah, so maybe we lose 7. And then following events. So is that a local event, like a town concert on the green, but is also broader, like the Festival of Arts and Ideas in New Haven or the Big E, like the Halloween Hoot? How big or small are we looking?
So the event is really designed for like a New Haven style downtown, right? Where the downtown has maybe a downtown management, where the downtown is actually putting on events.
Right.
So I assume they're trying to figure out the public's interest in the type of events that they're doing, which is completely different from what we're doing, because we're not really organizing events in the business district. So that might be,
So should we strike that one?
it might be irrelevant.
All right, so 7 and 8 can go.
9 is a good question. 10 as well.
But Debbie, I think you had suggested cutting 10, correct?
Yes, because I feel like if it's a non-work reason to stop downtown, then it's kind of answered by the one above it.
Oh, you're right. If you're going to get your nails done, then you've already said you're going for personal service.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you live and where you work? It's fine.
And 15 is tough because it could be neither where you work or where you live.
I guess you could put in a third. Neither.
or
Online.
or is it a 3-parter, like near where you work and then within 5 miles of your home, or 10 or more miles? I don't know, because I mean, for anybody just to get to Stop and Shop in Seymour or Big Y in Derby, we're all driving 15 minutes pretty much to get somewhere.
Not me.
Not you?
I'm like 6 minutes from Big Y.
I didn't know you were on- No, it's not outside of town to be closer to things.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It is nice. Yeah, I think that there's another. If we can add another question, that would make sense. I don't know if you wanted to make the distance or just outside of your, your community or something like that.
And what about online too? I mean, I think there's certain things that we just can't compete with.
Oh, right. So
And
this
this is,
says,
yeah,
I just read it again. It says, where are you most likely to shop for non-grocery items? Right. I mean, I think online is a big answer then. Most people will go local for their perishables, but other stuff.
I think online makes sense, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're getting rid of these next two. Is that right?
Yes, 16 and 17. Well, 16 we discussed cutting, and 17 I'll try to reword with Sean.
All right, and then 18.
I like 18. And we could be very creative in how we fill them in.
Should we fill them in now? Should you want to enter a couple? I don't know that we need 11 of them, but we can certainly have, and we don't, we can change it up. It doesn't even have to be 4. We could give them 5 choices and people can pick 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Or if we wanted.
there's always a fill in.
Do you guys think of doing something very specific, like saying Brugger's Bagels or a bagel shop?
I would say a bagel shop, a consignment shop, things that people are chirping about. Coffee shop, bagel shop, bakery,
Wine shop.
yeah, wine or specialty foods, clothing. I've heard about a place for like art and music lessons, something like that.
There's no gym. There's no kids' gym anywhere in town.
Mm-hmm.
Recreation.
But I think those are, I mean, you want to write these down, we can put them in there and we can just make these our, anyone else have any other businesses that you'd like to have in town?
Something of the crafting variety.
Like a craft shop, like a smaller version of a micro.
I mean, there's already a yarn shop, right? But
Could that be looped in with like arts and music?
Aren't you talking more about like lessons?
Just in general, there's the big contingent of people who are going downtown to creative arts workshop and neighborhood music school, wishing they didn't have to drive half an hour each way at 4:00 in the afternoon. And obviously those are 2 separate entities downtown, but perhaps the way to combine them up here.
No, these are different things. Arts and music, yeah.
For the sake of the search, they're combined as arts and music.
Yeah, I'm meaning more like a retail.
Talking about like an art store, like a craft shop where you can buy paint and model clay and things like that, right? Yeah, they're different. So, bagel shop, coffee shop, consignment shop, craft shop, arts, music, activities. What else? So we said a wine shop.
Wine, specialty foods, kids gym.
Specialty foods like prepared foods or?
Like a cheese shop kind of place, or you get cheese and pasta, or how about a seafood store?
Oh, fish market? There's very few of those anywhere these days.
Right.
What about like a kids focused store? Like in Hamden, there's a old school kids toy store, and I don't think there's many spots for kids clothing, but certainly we have so many people moving to Woodbridge for the education system. You'd think there'd be a captive market for that.
Mm-hmm.
Kids clothing, kids store. Yeah.
Yeah, clothing, toys, retail.
Yeah, kids and baby here.
Yeah.
So we've got bagel shop, coffee. We said bakery, right?
Yeah.
So bakery, bagel shop, coffee shop, consignment shop, craft shop, arts, music, activity type places, wine shop, specialty foods,
Sushi.
fish market. Yeah,
Should we put in a restaurant like sushi?
sure.
I mean, we've got Italian and Thai. I mean, only one of each, but it's still there. Breakfast. I think I've heard quite a few people say like a good old fashioned breakfast place like Lena's or Bella's.
Antique store? I was trying to think of what I go to other towns for.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we were in Woodbury. They've got all the shops, cafes all over.
So this is a good list. I mean, we have about a dozen things right here.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
And then in 19, does it need to be a specific chain or size, or could it be either or, like a specific chain or general genre of store? You know,
You
category.
know, I just want to leave it. Well,
Name 2 businesses you would most like to see come to downtown, i.e., specific chain or franchise. I don't know if that's gonna. What if we just said 2 tight? Well, that's sort of redundant for up above them.
and I think if you get specific, so many chains have such specific requirements for where they place their stores. It might be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think we need to say specific chain.
But then Jeremy was saying, isn't that redundant with the, leaving other in 18?
I think it's redundant.
So strike 19.
Yeah.
I think so.
Hey, Mika.
Mika's here.
Hello. Sorry about that. We had another meeting that I was on with Beth and Sandy. Sorry.
It's all good. All good. 20. Which 3 community assets would you most like to see developed? I think that's a very pertinent question.
I think we not the boat docks.
But do we want to pick our local, spots that we should put in here to see what people say? I mean, you can put in the country club. You can put in, I don't know, would label the Litchfield Turnpike plots. But you could put them in there. You could put, the Bradley Road development. What other assets? We have trails. I mean, anyone else have any other ideas about assets that we have that we want to see developed? A second, do we want to turn some of the green space into a second? There's places for. I know.
I think instead of expanded public parking, you could put commuter parking or something, because we don't really have public parking.
Well, maybe people think we need it.
Well,
I don't know.
and it's not really expanded, it's just public parking.
Right.
What if it was something? What if one of the items was the town hall area? If we were saying you wanted to put some sort of a retail coffee shop up in town instead of downtown, or I don't know how you'd word that as a question, but
Yes, that's a button topic. A lot of people are talking about a coffee shop again in the old firehouse, but I thought that was off the table. I don't know.
it would still be interesting to gauge people's opinion without them being put on camera and things like that.
Is that where we put sidewalks? If people are interested in sidewalks,
Near the town center, you mean?
just in general, I feel like it's a community asset if it goes in that.
What was the question?
Sidewalks, is that an asset for number 20?
I think so.
Any other thoughts on this? I think this question could be.
Also, stuff like expanded recycling facilities.
So we have.
Well, do we want to keep this to the business district, or what do we want to do townwide?
That's a good question. I don't know. This is a good opportunity to ask questions that we want to ask. So I don't know. Maybe we want to use this one question to ask some townwide sort of questions. I mean, most of this is definitely geared towards the business district, but this question gives you a little more freedom to ask about other things. So
Opening up a can of worms. I
I
would,
mean, maybe it's really not even our purview to be asking this. A community asset is, I mean, I don't know.
I hear what you're saying. Sort of a higher level than what we're focusing on at this point.
Right.
Well, I think the difficulty too is if we get data saying people want walking trails, it's like, do you mean in addition to the 35 miles of
Right. I wouldn't even put that in here. We've got enough walking trails.
or like sports facilities? You know, we already have 3 privately owned ones in town. So I think some of these are.
Oh, I agree.
But certainly commuter parking and public parking, I think, are worth asking about. So maybe it's a different question.
Yeah.
or maybe it's the same kind of a question, but a different intro. Maybe they're community asset, maybe they're a thing.
What if we did something like rank these in order of your preference, or what you'd like done? Sidewalks, commuter parking, and something else. Signage, or something like that.
Yeah. And what about also EV parking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are those currently used, the ones that are out?
They're used at town hall, but I also think it would be a great benefit to the businesses if some local business had electric vehicle parking, because if you had to park your car for, I don't know how long it takes, and I think it depends on the car, say an hour or so, you're a captive audience, right? If you had to park your car somewhere and just hang out for an hour, you might go buy something.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's a good one, Beth.
So maybe you rank in what Jeremy said, rank in importance. So
It's
delete walking and biking trails, delete sports facilities, delete skateboard park.
Yes. I don't know if do want a skateboard park.
I don't know. I think the other question was, it was more about shopping and usage, business district, commuter park, public parking, sidewalks, electric vehicle plugins. Those kind of were in the same family to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where the others are more of just quality of life issues that are more townwide.
Yeah, that's sort of like downtown infrastructure stuff.
Yeah. Is it more lights, more, I don't know. I think more of the business focused better fit.
Yeah, it's infrastructure, like Jeremy said. So it's this downtown infrastructure and importance.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's free Wi-Fi, free public Wi-Fi, those kinds of things. And if there's 5, it could be rank 5. If it's more than 5, maybe it's circle 3.
Expanded bus line up to a certain point.
Oh, that's public transportation. Yeah, it's a good one.
You did mention signage, correct?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
How about bus? What are they called? The bus stops, like the.
Oh, I know what you mean.
The official word.
But for the
shelters.
Shelters.
So what do we have? We have sidewalks, We have signage. We have parking.
Commuter parking or public parking or both?
I think it's both. I feel like they're different things, don't you?
Yes.
So commuter parking, public parking. What else did we say?
Bus shelters?
Bus shelters.
All right, bus shelters, public transportation.
Yep. EV parking, which could really be with either one of those parking options, and Wi-Fi.
Signage?
Yeah, and signage.
EV parking. It's a lot of parking.
Do we say public Wi-Fi?
Yeah, that was the last one. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So that's sidewalks, signage, commuter parking, public parking, EV parking, public transportation. Do you want to do bus shelter and public transportation separately, or keep that as one and the same?
I don't know.
I would think it would be expanded bus transportation and shelters as a separate thing.
Okay.
Or you can say expanded in parentheses, including bus shelters.
Okay.
Could EV parking be with public parking in the same way?
Probably. So if we did commuter parking and then public parking, parentheses, EV parking, and then we did expanded bus transportation, parentheses, bus shelters.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I don't think that I would ever use the bus in Woodbridge, but every time the weather is terrible, I feel awful when I see someone waiting for the bus. So personally, I feel like bus shelters are worthwhile, but I don't know enough to know that we need expanded public transportation. And I know that to go to DOT to ask for more bus transportation, I need to have proof that it's going to be worth their investment.
Where does the bus stop right now in Litchfield?
It's up to Lucy, takes a left, and then takes a right on Amity.
It never gets up to Bradley.
It does. It goes up to Bradley,
It is.
and then it goes up to the JCC and turns around and comes back.
But does it hit Bradley Litchfield or hits Bradley Amity?
Bradley and Amity.
Yeah, so to get to Research Park, because I remember in the past, Jamie was saying, it's difficult for his people that come to work who take the bus from XYZ location because they have to walk a half a mile from Bradley and Amity to get all the way in, take the left, and go all the way down into it's a long walk.
I put someone from the DOT in touch with Marrakesh, which has a lot of people using the bus in the same situation. They're on the other side of the river. It's quite a trek, especially when the weather's not nice. And I don't think anything came of it. I'll have to follow up, but they need a lot of research and.
Mika, what are you saying?
No, I was just going to offer that obviously if the reason for asking is because if there's enough businesses who put an emphasis on it, then it's worth you spending the time on, Betsy. Where if that's at the bottom of the list for everybody, then you're right. Then why go into it and try to pursue it with considering the effort that it might take? So it
But I
seems
do
like
think this could be a different audience, this survey, right? If this survey is going to residents are not taking the bus to the business district. It's most likely people outside of the business district who are not residents going to work at Marrakesh or Jamie Scott's business or any of the businesses over there. So it's not necessarily the same people because there is no bus service in Upper Woodbridge. So if you live in the business district, you can walk there. If you don't, taking the bus is not an option.
So should we change that question to or public transportation to business district?
so. This is going to the residents. I'm sorry, I missed that.
This is going to the residents. Yep.
Thank you.
So maybe we just take it out.
Yeah, or ask about bus shelters, but not
Yeah, we can-
necessarily
right.
transportation.
I kind of feel like the electric car park and regular parking, because then it kind of identifies how many electric car operators we have. Make any sense? If people just circle for parking versus parking, you can't discern which kind of vehicle they have. They just want parking.
Oh, so you're saying ask 3 different parking questions.
Unfortunately,
But that's good because if we know there's a lot of people who want EV parking, even if the town doesn't come up with a spot for public parking, we could at least shop the idea around to commercial property owners and ask if any of them will make the investment.
yeah, I just think it's interesting to see. I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
I agree.
good return rate in general for this survey, which
What is the,
is so depressing anyway, but I would love to see how many I mean,
what is the feasibility of commuter parking? It's certainly a need. I'd be the first to say that. People use the Cass's parking lot for that right now.
Right.
So when Debbie was at the JCC, she and I were working on trying to get people to use the JCC as a commuter lot, because most people have to go down the hill. Assuming you're on Amity, not Litchfield, going into New Haven, and the coffee shop is there, daycare is there for people who need that. I don't know that we made any change in people's behavior.
but it was awareness.
Yeah, and I know that I think the folks at Katz's Plaza don't want people using it as a commuter lot.
Correct.
Right. They want the space, the in and out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was for a long time signs that said no parking for the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for years growing up, we always used it.
And a lot of people still do.
Yeah.
People still do. Or by Planet Fitness, people park there.
Oh yeah.
So I would never know to use JCC because I'm not a member there. And I know that they sponsored some, take the bus to work day, but that wasn't, that's not what I think of when I think of commuting. I think of more the ride share, or just like I'm going somewhere with a friend and we just want to leave one car back.
Right. So we tried to put it as both. It was a park your car and take the bus downtown, or park your car and get into someone else's car, just to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. We tried to create awareness about both options, but yeah, but you're right. Even something small, like I'm meeting my mom. She lives in Hamden and we're going to go downtown and she doesn't want to drive downtown at night. So we would meet at Walgreens and leave one car there. So
But then the car's going to be there when you get back. So,
but it's not necessarily commuting to the Milford train and whatnot, but it is, I think people might look for a safe space to leave a car to go downtown.
Maybe that's something I should try to revive after the pandemic. It's safe to encourage people to share car trips.
Yeah, right.
I think when that effort it was just so focused on work. I didn't even think of it for, because my schedule is so haphazard for work that it doesn't make sense for me to share a ride with someone, but for other reasons I would.
So maybe this survey could show us if there isn't, people feel like there is a need for commuter parking. We could at least, use this as justification to try and make something like that happen again at the JCC.
Right.
Sure. So do we need public? Is public parking and commuter parking that much of a difference? Why don't we just put commuter parking and EV parking and leave public out, so it's not so many parking questions? Commuter and public are the same.
I don't think any businesses for parking right in right spot. myself. I would do the electric parking and the commuter parking.
Okay. We've got sidewalks, signage, commuter parking, electric parking, public Wi-Fi, bus shelters. Anything else?
Do we need lighting? Would people want to walk around if there was better lit at night? I don't know.
I think that might be, speaking from like thinking about how to pay for it, that it might be tied in with sidewalks, so that if we ever get grant money like that, we would probably just be able to add in sidewalks or lighting with the sidewalks.
So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 6 things for that question.
Good. And an other, I guess.
Sure. All right, so we totally revamped number 20. And then the rest of it, what do we want to do about genders and ages and zip code? We know everyone's zip code.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to know all this demographic stuff.
No, but I like 30 or whether we tweak it or not, I do like the 35.
Did we want this formal education part?
I don't think we need it because we have census data on that.
Right. Okay. All right. So then that's you said 35. Which leisure activities does your household participate in? Yeah, I like that one too.
Anything we want to add or take out? I mean, do we need every sport or should we just have sports?
It really encompasses almost everything. I'm fine with leaving it. It's a lot of words, but it's got everything from arts to reading to fishing to sewing. Of everything. Music.
The only 3 I would suggest taking out are the boating, jet skiing. Like, even if lots of people in Woodbridge go boating and jet skiing, I don't see us having a jet ski store. And then computer and internet, like,
Right.
this survey was written when people were still going to Best Video, so I think
You want to keep? Should we lose boating and canoeing?
Well, canoeing I think might be more relevant, only because it doesn't make sense now, but at some point in the future, maybe people could go down the West River. Maybe that's being very, very far-sighted.
Have water sports, because there are a lot of people who have boats in Milford or boats in other places, or weekend houses. Maybe they would want to pick up gear here for a weekend.
Instead of computer and internet, do you want to put in there like for the young ones, the gaming and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Online gaming.
Yeah, it's a pretty big, not something I'm into, but it's definitely, unfortunately, takes up a lot of kids' time.
Jeremy, your kids could get college scholarships for that soon enough. It's already happened.
Yeah. I broke out the Wii. I broke out the Wii for them during the pandemic. That's
Well, they're
Wii
young.
Bowl.
They're young, so get them going now. They'll get college scholarship.
No, we play outside. We play outside. Wii bowling on rainy days.
Yeah.
Funny to think that the Wii is old school.
Very old school. But the family bowling tournaments are great.
That's fun.
So the only other one I would take out is the one that says collecting that has a blank. I can't imagine we're going to get so many responses that any is going to be meaningful, right? Collecting stamps, collecting toys, collecting.
Sure.
And I think skiing could be skiing. I don't think we need cross country skiing and downhill skiing if we're trying to lighten this up a little bit.
Just skiing. Okay. And that's our last one, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want radio stations.
And should we had, I mean, but there's baseball and basketball, but there
Back to skiing, don't we have public lands that can be used for cross-country skiing?
I don't know, that's a
Yeah, I
trail.
mean-
We probably do. I guess the Woodbridge Country Club to a certain extent can be.
Yeah, it'd be,
Yeah, the trails are not groomed, but yeah, you could go.
trails are not groomed.
You could lump everything
What
with
about-
skiing into snow sports.
What about number 38? Is that a question that's a little bit interesting? If you're not already a business owner, what is your level of interest in starting your own business in town?
I'm sorry, I thought Brooks said something. I
Oh,
didn't hear what
I
he
missed
said.
it. Sorry.
So I was just saying you could take the skiing, cross-country skiing, and just say it's snow sports.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was a similar question. With there's baseball, softball, basketball, but there's no football, and which we know is also popular youth sports and lacrosse. So should we just have team sports?
To do that because there's no hockey there either.
Yeah, because hockey, youth hockey and lacrosse and adult softball and basketball for all ages. Pickleball.
Right.
We don't want to list everything like that, but
Okay.
The only other thing I said was when I rudely interrupted Brooks was number 38. It says, if you are not already a business owner, what is your level of interest in starting your own business? You think that's relevant question? Just to see if folks have interest in opening their own business in town?
yeah, I think I'd be very curious.
Okay.
You get a couple people to circle interested to learn more, and you make a meeting and you see who's talking.
Okay.
Are they putting their names and information on the surveys?
I think that's a good question. Do you think we should be doing a paper survey that gets mailed out to residents?
That's the budget.
I think it should all be digital, but that's just my opinion.
What's the response on the surveys you've done in the past where you put it in the town email and Facebook and try to put it out as much as possible? You get a couple hundred maybe, or you get 20?
I think it depends on the topic of the survey and how interested. So when I did the survey about biking and walking, I got 300 responses online, which is incredible. But I think people are very interested in that topic.
Yeah.
I don't know what the level of interest would be with this. Another thing, when I did that survey, I learned how our website is not set up for surveys. And so if we wanted to be able to say something like, and I know we just took these questions out, 20% of survey respondents who are between the ages of 18 and 30 play team sports. I don't think that I could do that, but I could tell you, X percentage of people answered this question in this way, but I wouldn't be able to get down to that granular level where, I couldn't say people who want to see an ice cream shop also want to start a business. But I think if you guys wanted to spend the money for like SurveyMonkey, I think we might be able to pay for a one-time survey. If we wanted to have a little more functionality, or we could pay to send it out to people. I don't know. I don't know enough to know if you get a better response rate going one way or the other.
How long do you think the survey will take if somebody's filling it out?
5 minutes. I mean, it's not a lot of thinking questions. It's sort of circle.
don't think, do you know what the, on Survey Monkey, I know their free version gives you up to 100 replies, so I don't know how much it would cost to upgrade.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I could look into it, but I don't think it would, I think it would probably be cheaper than mailing stuff out.
Oh, sure. Well, I think the part about mailing is you have to send a prepaid return envelope because that is like a barrier to entry for someone to put a stamp on it and return it. So it gets really expensive.
Yeah, so then you're paying for 6,000 stamps instead of 3,000 stamps.
Yeah.
Well, if we use SurveyMonkey and then try to drive people to the survey through social media and
The news.
on emails and stuff, it may be the best way to do it. If we all share it and point people. Would you say that?
I can look into how much it costs. I don't think it'll be a lot, but I think it would.
Okay.
I don't think it's that much. And I think if it's in the town newsletter and the Woodbridge Town News and the email and Facebook and we all share it, I don't know on SurveyMonkey that there's a protection where someone can only fill it out once.
I can't imagine people would want to stack the survey results.
You never know.
Someone who desperately wants a shoe.
Yeah. Good.
I want fresh fish in town.
It's hard with the quarantine rules, but if the senior center ever reopens, you could maybe get some of the youth volunteers iPads to help you answer a survey.
Oh, that's true. And there should be, should there be an optional name and email address? You know, please add me to the town email newsletter list, or please contact me. Or
well, that's how we started this conversation, because if we're asking them if they want to start a business, you know, there's no. I mean, usually these type of surveys are anonymous, right?
Right.
Or opt to put your name. So if you're interested in starting a business, we're not going to have necessarily their name to call and follow up with. So, especially if it's an online survey, it's doubtful they're going to stop and write down a phone number or web address if they want a business startup.
So if it's an online survey, then can that last question, the final question, be, are you interested? And if you are, and make an option. If you wanted more information and talk to the town, please put your name and number here. And that's the only place that they could leave it.
Yeah, maybe name optional at the end of the survey. I always feel better putting my name down after I've done the questions to see if there's anything that I would feel funny about.
Sure.
Yeah.
What if the name and number is inside that question about starting a business, and it doesn't say optional, because you know if you're clicking thinking about or planning, you're going to fill in your name and number. So we may contact you. And then at the bottom, it's just old-fashioned optional name and email address.
Mm-hmm.
I think if someone's starting a business or thinking about starting a business, they'll be okay filling in their name and phone number. At the bottom could be optional.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the goal for this survey? What, for our next meeting, where do we want to be on this? Do we want it ready to send out after the next meeting?
I think at the next meeting, I can give you guys a clean copy of everything that we went over tonight and just confirm that I've got everything correct the way you were all envisioning it. And I can have the information about survey and about what it's going to cost. I imagine it's not going to be a lot, but it's probably something.
Okay. We haven't spent much money anyway, so. All right. So if we're good with the survey, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is The commercial property owner meeting, which we haven't made much of we haven't made much inroads on this yet. Betsy and I are working on it, but not much to comment on right now. I don't think, right, Betsy?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. Marketing campaign update.
Sort of the same thing. I reached out to a couple schools. They seem definitely interested, but I haven't heard back from anybody. I think things have just been, I assume things have just been a little chaotic with the pandemic and the start of the school year. So I'm going to try following up next week and see where that gets us.
Next is business updates. I don't have much. The only thing I've noticed that Deli Delish changed owners. So there's a new ownership group that some younger guys that bought Deli Delish. They're out of the Fairfield area. They seem pretty gung ho, and they're making good sandwiches. They brought in a nitro coffee brew ice keg tank that they have in their store now. So it seems like they really want to be here for a long while. And he bought the business and said that it fit exactly what he was looking to do. I popped in there to get a sandwich the other day and just started talking to the owner. So not a new business per se, but new owners in town. I don't know if Betsy, you know of anything else per se that's going on.
I just know that there's going to be a zoning board of appeals hearing soon, sometime this month. A wine focused sort of boutique package store
Right.
is at 245 Amity. So that would be a nice addition to that area if it's able to open.
In the
Very nice.
former art store?
Yes.
I think so. Mhm.
Oh, so what is it? Wine and liquor store?
It's a package store, but they would be mostly focused on wine.
Nice.
Yeah, it's still not within the parameters of where it could be in terms of zoning, so they have to go for a variance. But hopefully they can push it through.
Oh, why would alcohol be prohibited there?
You got houses across the street. Somewhere along the line, from door to door, you've got houses within a certain area of being able to sell alcohol, I believe.
I think that's right. And that's all I'm aware of in terms of business updates, new businesses in town.
Right. Yeah, me as well. Chair report. I guess that's me. I don't have that much to report. I had a meeting the other night, our first meeting with the 2030 group, and it's an exciting, group of people that have some really good ideas about where we could take the town. And it was just a preliminary meeting of us getting together and sort of getting to know each other a little bit. And I think over the next week or so, we're actually going to get together and take a walk around the business district together as a special meeting, and just sort of walk around and see what we've got. Really just look at it up close and see the different pockets of the business district and see what sort of physical obsolescences there are that are either helping or, well, that wouldn't help a business, but that may be hindering business in a certain area, or what may be in a certain area that's helping those businesses do well. So it's exciting. I think the group's going to be leaning on EDC for ideas and some of the things that we've already vetted over the last year and over the previous many years, such as maybe finally putting signage into effect in the town, or looking at ways to basically the goal of the group is to find ways to raise the grand list. And I think some of the things we've talked about with the abatement program we've worked on, rolling those things into or passing them on up to 2030 so they can make recommendations to the selectmen is going to be a nice flow of information, I think. And I think the group's looking to EDC for us to sort of focus on the business district and economic development, and any ideas that we have, we should, filter them up to that group so they can, pass it on to Beth and whomever else, has an ear on that. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but it's sort of the gist of where we are at this point. don't know if Mika, do you have any, I think number 8, the staff report, I don't know if that's referring to Mika or Betsy, but either of you have anything to lend?
Well, most of you know that there's an application being, we understand there will be an application filed for a new cell tower off of Newton Road on 118 Newton Road. It's really more located on Soundview Circle, if you know that area. Come left off of the main, or right off the main entrance there. It's closer to Route 67 there. That's a very big issue, with obviously for all the residents in that area, and it's really getting a lot of attention, and there's a lot of communication from the various residents on that. I know it's not directly related to EDC, but it's something I just want to make sure you're aware of. Additionally, you may have read about the variance filed for multi-unit dwelling on Orchard, which is in the same area, actually. That's another thing that just came out, and that's rather significant, because it's likely that the organization that actually bought the house will file, will really kind of, they're looking more to see our zoning regulations change than necessarily just get a variance for this particular location. And those are probably the two biggest issues that are currently in place right now.
And when's that hearing, Mika? Is it the end of November?
I believe it is, yes. Yes.
Mika, was the cell tower rental income estimated to be like $3,000 a month or something like that?
Honestly, Brooks, I've asked that question a couple of times. I've not heard anybody give me.
It's like peanuts for something like that. I mean,
So, yeah.
Put that in your property for just that pittance.
Yeah, it's and it is a privately owned, and I don't know how familiar you are with the process, but generally speaking, once, I think the statistic is 96% of the applications that go to the siting council, and the town has no jurisdiction. PPZ has no jurisdiction on this at all. All we can do is offer alternate sites and hope that the alternate sites are sufficient for them to consider and use. But like 90, I'm sorry?
You know what those alternative sites are?
I know, for example, right now, a couple of sites we're looking at are behind Town Hall, behind Public Works, that area there. And Betsy, you might be closer to this than I am. There's also one of the parks behind off of Meeting House Lane that they're looking at. There were a couple of three actually, Debbie, if I remember, Regional Authority property. There was also a burnt swamp location that was looked at, but that's all wetlands, so that's not even really being considered feasible.
Did they
I'm
look
sorry?
at the station? That's uphill.
Say again?
Did they look at up by the transfer station, which is uphill, which it sits high?
It does, and I'm not sure if they did, but I know that that's one of the ones that I mentioned is being considered. However, the intent here is to bring cell service to northern Woodbridge, which really is really stretching from the Bethany line, if you're thinking of Route 63 where Bethany is, back down toward that Newton Road where the tower is, because that's where coverage is very poor right now. So that location, transfer station, is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's too far.
I don't know. That's my neighborhood. We get pretty good cell service, so I'm not so sure that tower is needed. But we'll see what comes.
We get horrible cell service, so I do understand. And if you're ever driving from a cell standpoint on 63 heading south, generally speaking, on Route 63, right around Mary the farm, Sorensen's farm, right, maybe a little higher than that. I can tell you 8 out of 10 times I'll get cut off from any conversation I have. And it happens on Newton Road as well, and Sanford Road is all dead. So I can understand they're trying to do something because it's bad in a lot of areas, but to put a cell tower in the middle of a residential area right there, I just don't see the rationale there. That's really too bad.
Yeah, I think
the multi-unit dwelling is right next door to the cell tower.
Yep.
They butt
Not
up.
too far. I don't think it abuts. The Orchard is a little farther down the road a piece, but it's very close. It's very close.
It's super.
Those people are really getting kind of hammered right now. Betsy, I don't know if you have anything more that you can think of.
Just that, as I understand it, the state has determined where there's needs for cell towers. So that's another thing that we can't really say you need or you don't need it. And I believe, I haven't talked to Beth specifically about this, but I believe that we were given parameters of where the tower needs to be, because that's one area we were thinking about is like Eldersley or the transfer station. But I think those might be outside of the area they were given us.
Right, it really does have to address the specific area that they're looking to improve.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a tough one, but certainly there's a concerted grassroots effort to try to do something.
Well, thank you, Mika.
Good news.
Always good news.
So I just have two really quick updates. The survey that we had worked on for the businesses will be going out in the next couple weeks. I've been waiting on getting an updated list of local businesses in town. So have that list now. It needs to be cleaned up a bit. And when that's all done, then I can get the survey that we'd worked on for businesses ready to go out in the mail pretty soon.
Great. Great. We have there's 7 of us in the commission, right?
I think it's 8.
So we're missing Michael, Toby, and Sean, right?
Oh, Sean, yeah.
Just the 3 of them? So we do have a quorum, maybe.
We're missing 4. Missing
Luciani?
Wayne,
Yeah, Mr.
Toby,
Luciani?
Sean.
Wayne. Yeah.
Oh, Wayne. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, then we can't pass the minutes. Does anyone else have anything they want to make a comment on? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Cleo made a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
folks. Take care.
Everybody.
See you soon.